Hi, Brandon. How you doing? Okay, let's see what we got here. Got your JPEG up here. There we have it. Okay, and that's the front. I got the front up because I want to make some comparisons to check our harmony and our consistency. So let me just bring that down. I'm going to pull that in the window here. And we can see, now this is a JPEG that you've submitted, and that this front side is also a JPEG. So the issue I'm seeing here is that we got a little bit of a disconnect in the color for the background. Now that could possibly be a PDF. I mean, the way the JPEG is rendering color, I don't know. One would think that if this color were rendered in this fashion in a JPEG, that it would render the same way. Check your color here. It's really, really important. Unless, of course, the intent is not to have the same color, in which case you would, well, I'll talk about color a little bit further in 1 second. So I just want to mention one thing really quickly about the front cover. So when I was talking about alignment, I was talking about something like this. Okay, so if we take this, watch the kerning here, and if we tighten the kerning up a little bit here, and maybe loosen it up top a little bit, which I think the bottom is kerned much looser than the top anyway. So what I'm getting at is getting these two vertical stems in alignment. That way you can follow that right down and take this, pull it over to the left, and align Father of Carbohydrates with those two stems. Do you see what I'm saying? It would create for some nice alignment. It'll really create some neat harmony in the piece. We jump to the back of the poster, and what the first thing I notice immediately is the lack of color. So you've used purple on the front, but there's no purple on the back at all. I think the back is begging for color. I really do. I think that there's a few things that are going on in the back of the work here that it's really super, super text heavy, really text heavy. There's a lot here. I recommend condensing it down a little bit and maybe try to utilize negative space a little bit more, more invitingly. Think about a drop cap, and you know, when you have this much text, what you could do is a couple of things. We got to break this text up one way or another. All right, so there's two ways to delineate new paragraph. One is by indent, the other is by a space. I'm fond of a space. I think indents. I think they kind of create a little bit of inconsistency. I shouldn't say inconsistency. Indents are perfectly acceptable. My personal preference is to keep that left margin nice and straight. So therefore, I prefer a space between paragraphs, or a space before the new paragraph, as opposed to an indent. But this has neither, so that's why it appears to be so daunting of a read. It's something that I would highly consider. Try a pull quote to dress things up a little. I'm sorry, a drop cap to dress things up a little bit, and you may even consider a small pull quote in here somewhere, pull quote or a call out, just to break up the text a little bit. Okay, let's zoom in here, and let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, so unfortunately with the JPEG, I either have this or I have this. There's really no way for me to zoom in. That's why I always prefer PDFs to be submitted. Okay, so you know, even adding color, like you could take some color and add it to the timeline, make it purple. Here's a really neat little trick to add some additional color and visual impact in creating interest in the image itself, is take that square, the exact same size square, and duplicate it and create it in purple. All right, a solid fill color of purple, exactly that size. Place it directly behind this image, and then arrow down and to the right a little bit, so it's just kind of offset a little bit. It's a really neat little technique that creates a little bit of depth, a little bit of dimension, some volume, and a really super interesting and engaging visual demeanor. So that, in conjunction with maybe a purple timeline, and then maybe a purple drop cap, and then possibly even a purple type in a pull quote, I think will really, really make things different. Definitely reduce the amount of text here. I want to zoom in here to take a look at individual text. So there's a great job using old style figures, but we don't have small caps right there. WH, small caps right there. Definitely want to add small caps. I have to zoom back out. Right here, that's an N dash right there. That's a separating two numbers. Anything that has to do with numbers, the dash, the correct is an N dash. That's N as in Nancy, And you can go ahead and take a look at the video on in the announcements area regarding N-M- and dash and the correct usage of each. There's another instance where you can use small caps instead of all caps. Okay, good, good, good. Another N-, N-. Okay, okay, okay. Let's zoom back out. I think that the time, this is weird. There's so much text over here, but there's very little information on the timeline. Now, I think that Miranda's piece right before yours is an example where there's a ton of information in the timeline. And I think it's too much. It's a little too daunting for the viewer to go, wow, that's a lot of information. But this is not enough. So let's see if we can't add a little bit of information to your timeline. Okay, let's look at your regs. Yeah, you want to adjust your regs too. I think that the regs, you want to avoid any kind of large differences, large variations between the longest line in a paragraph and the shortest line. So we see that big diagonal right there. You want to avoid that. You want your regs to be relatively close. You want them to stagger long line, short line, but not in a noticeable way. You should notice it, like, let me find a good area of reg. This is great right here, right through here. These 4 lines right here, excellent. These are great right here. This from here down is very good, very good. But we've got a couple of things. These are pretty good here. Got that big dip right there, but I can't tell if that's the end of the paragraph. No, it's not. No, that's a new sentence. So that's a big dip right there. And a way to rectify, a great way to address your regs is okay, so let's say this and right here, place your cursor right before it and do a soft return. That's a shift return. And that's going to drop it to the next line without being a breaking hard return. So definitely, that's how you do your regs. Just place your cursor on a word, do a soft return, and that should reconfigure. It's good. It takes a little work to adjust your regs. I'm not going to lie to you. It really does, but well worth it in the end. Okay, so those are my recommendations. Great start. If you have any questions, comments, or if I can make any clarifications at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to do so. But let me know quickly so that we can apply any kind of changes to your final iteration for the week. Moving into our final presentation next week, right? Already. Wow, this class flew by, didn't it? Wow. Okay, so the important thing at this point is to let me know if you have any questions at all. Okay? Great start. Thank you very much.